Hey everyone, thank you so much for being here. I'm Nick Stein, the Chief Marketing Officer at Top Hat. We're an education technology scale-up based in Toronto. And before I begin, I'd just like to give a quick shout out to our sponsor today, Hello Woofy. Thanks so much. Okay, so I am here today to talk about the ingredients for scaling your marketing team to achieve and sustain rapid growth. And I promise all of you that you'll walk away with a playbook that you can put into practice right away in your own company or organization. Now, what I'm about to share doesn't exist in any marketing course. It's an approach that I've developed through my own experience building and leading teams. You see, I didn't take a traditional path to becoming a marketer. After graduating from McGill with a degree in English and political science, I had no idea what I wanted to do with my career. I wanted to make an impact on the world, but I didn't really know how to do that. And my degree didn't prepare me for that next step. So I went back to school, moved to New York, and got a master's in journalism at Columbia. But this time, the classroom environment was very different. Instead of sitting in class while a professor at the front of the room talked at me for 90 minutes, we had to be engaged in our own learning. It was on-the-job training, and I learned how to become a great interviewer by doing hundreds of interviews, do research by researching, and to write by actually writing. What I didn't realize until much later on in my career was that I was actually learning a much more valuable skill, one that allowed me to become a successful investigative reporter at Fortune magazine and later transition to a career in marketing. But more on that in a moment. First, I wanted to ask all of you a question, and we have a poll open in the background. Do you feel like university prepared you for a successful career in marketing or tech startups or whatever it is that you're doing now? Okay. So results are pretty interesting, and I think that's the challenge that we've been trying to address at Top Hat, which is how do we provide students with greater return on their investment in a university education? I know I have two kids in school, and the way they learn bears very little resemblance to the way most universities still teach and frankly have taught for the last 100 years. You've got your sage on the stage who's sharing his wisdom to a passive audience. Whereas if my kids want to learn something, they don't need to wait for an educator to tell them or go and look in the approved textbook. They can just go on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. And while it seems obvious, when the internet democratized information for everyone, universities lost their monopoly. And so they need to find a new purpose and demonstrate their value in the way they never have before. Which kind of brings me to our mission at Top Hat to empower those educators in higher ed with technology so they can engage students and unleash their potential. It's a really inspiring mission and one I was excited to sign up for when I joined the company 4 years ago. It was also a mission that I thought I was well prepared to take on. Oops. Having some issues here with the slide advancing. Apologies for that. The reason I felt so prepared is because I had a lot of experience building marketing teams at companies of many different sizes. I had joined Ripple when we were a small startup with less than 20 people. And we built a social performance management platform that enabled managers to really drive the performance of their teams through feedback, coaching, goal setting and recognition. And on our marketing team, we were responsible for driving 100% of the demand through a freemium product-led growth strategy. We built the team and company pretty quickly, got a lot of attention from the media and the market, signed up some amazing customers, including Facebook, LinkedIn, and Spotify, and got acquired by Salesforce. And at Salesforce, I helped build and lead a team responsible for rebranding Ripple as Work.com on the main keynote stage at Dreamforce, and then marketing those capabilities globally. And my role shifted to enabling the company's army of reps from SMB all the way to enterprise, how to take the new product to market. And then at Vision Critical, I led a team responsible for marketing a SaaS platform that huge Fortune 100 enterprises use to get customer feedback. And then we're doing classic B2B enterprise marketing, driving inbound demand and enabling our enterprise reps. And so when I got to Top Hat, the company was really looking to build out the marketing function. They were about to close their Series C round of venture capital, which was led by Union Square Ventures and some of our investors here in Canada, like Georgian Partners and Inovia. And so there I was, starting out at Top Hat, and what I quickly discovered was that the playbook I had developed and successfully executed in all these other environments didn't work the same way in higher education. I had to basically rip it up and start all over again. And that's the situation all of you are in when you come to these sorts of presentations like the one I'm giving today. You're looking for actionable insights. You're looking for plays you can take away and apply in your own organization. And in a moment, I'm going to share 5 of them with all of you. The thing is, they all rely on the same ingredient. And that ingredient is a growth mindset. If you haven't read the book named The Same by psychologist Carol Dweck, I highly recommend it. And for those of you who haven't, her key insight is that humans can be divided into 2 camps, those with a fixed mindset and those with a growth mindset. And people often ask me how I was able to become a CMO without taking a single marketing course. And the answer is I may not have been studying marketing, but my prior education and career helped me develop the right mindset to be an effective marketer, one that embraces risk-taking, experimentation, and an endless drive for optimization. The thing is that where we usually apply this kind of thinking externally to our marketing campaigns, programs, and channels, what I'd encourage all of you, and really what I'm going to focus the remainder of this session on today, is to turn that performance-oriented approach inward to the way you manage your team. You see, at Top Hat, while we quickly realized that we had to market in a different way, what stayed the same was applying those principles, the principles I'm going to share with you in a moment, to the way we actually run our team. And that was particularly important this year. You see, prior to COVID, Top Hat was focused on making the in-class experience more engaging. When a lot of people think about education technology, they think about online learning. But in fact, Top Hat was focused on making that in-class live experience more meaningful in a class of 50 or 100 or even 1,000 students. And in fact, 85% of the thousands of university courses using Top Hat across North America were live and in person. And suddenly that was all at risk. So in the span of a few days, we literally decided to rebuild our entire platform to make it viable for online, remote, and hybrid teaching environments. And leading the marketing function, of course, that became the sharp end of the spear. So very quickly, we had to launch products that hadn't even been built yet, launching 4 different products, rebuilding our messaging, positioning, our website, our demand gen programs, our content marketing strategy, our search strategy, and then going and enabling all of our customer-facing teams with this new messaging and positioning, and doing it all in a matter of a few weeks. And so the playbook I want to share with you, the one you can put in place in your team or organization tomorrow, is focused on creating the right structure, the right process, and the right mindset on your team that will become the foundation for successful growth. And really, had we not spent the last few years at Top Hat honing our marketing machine, instilling that growth mindset and culture of experimentation and optimization, what we achieved over the last spring and summer period after COVID set in would never have been possible. So play number 5 is obsess over your org structure, your process, and your meetings. I want to share a story that was shared with me by Professor Mark Weber, who's a social psychologist and the director of the Conrad School of Entrepreneurship at the University of Waterloo. And what he's really focused on is this idea that human behavior is driven largely by environment. So we may take tons of those personality tests, and they're a lot of fun to take, but they actually tell us very little that allows us to predict human behavior, whereas the environment that we set up can predict human behavior to a much higher degree of accuracy. And the story that Mark uses is the story of Joshua Bell, who's a famous violinist who sells out concert halls around the world. People are paying hundreds of dollars a ticket to go and see him. Yet when Bell went into the subway system in Boston and played the same arresting music, over 1,000 people walked right past him without even stopping. And the handful of people who did stop only gave him a few dollars. And so if you think about this for a moment, he was the same virtuoso performer in both environments. The only thing that changed was the environment that he was in. And so the lesson we can take away from that is that as a leader, you really have the power to control the environment that you're in. Marketing teams, especially as they grow, are made up of a lot of different specialists. You've got product marketers steeped in the market, the product and the competition. You've got writers and designers who tell beautiful stories. You've got performance marketers focused on conversion. And the best marketing happens when you find a way to bring all of these disparate pieces together. And each member of your team learns the right trade-offs to make in their individual domains to drive the greater good of both the team and the company. So how do you set up your organizational chart? How do you design your workflows? How do you run your meetings? How do you measure success? Do you take as much time thinking through the right agenda for a team meeting as you do planning a marketing campaign? Do you dissect your work process with the same scrutiny that you apply to optimizing an email subject line or a landing page? That's really what I'm encouraging all of you to do, because creating the right conditions to bring all these different people together takes a lot of time and effort and thought. It requires experimentation. You won't get it right the first time or even the second time. And when you do get it right, you're going to need to keep changing it up as you grow. So that brings me to play number 4, which is always be marketing. So what do I mean by always be marketing? So here's a photo of one of our product marketers at Top Hat, pre-COVID, of course, sharing a new marketing campaign at our weekly company All Hands. And before he got up on stage, we made sure he was ready to make the same impact internally as we hoped that the campaign he was sharing would make externally on our prospects and our customers. But that isn't always the case. I've seen so many incredible marketers go in and present at a team meeting or an internal company meeting and fall flat. They deliver a presentation that just doesn't inspire or achieve its intended objective. And as you work in larger and larger organizations, cross-functional collaboration becomes more and more critical to success. Marketing just can't achieve its goals independently. Success depends on working in close collaboration with colleagues across sales, customer success, product, and other teams. And so the question I want to encourage all of you to ask is, are you applying the same mindset you'd use to convince and convert your prospects to the one that you're using to win over colleagues to join with you on a shared mission? A story I'll share: before I joined Top Hat, our CEO, Mike, asked me to join a company All Hands like this one and introduce myself to the company. And I really applied this thinking. This was the first impression I was going to make on all these people who would become my colleagues and collaborators. And years later, one of the engineering directors came up to me and actually said that talk that I had given inspired him and gave him confidence that I was the right person to come in and lead and build our marketing organization. So understanding your audience and what their pain points are, delivering a message that addresses those pains and uniquely positions your differentiated value proposition, and doing it with a narrative that really captures the hearts and minds. These aren't just ingredients for great marketing. They're a recipe for persuading anyone to join your cause. So next, we move to number 3, which is be a bulldog for your team. So this is obviously not a bulldog. This is Billy, my new puppy. She's actually pretty gentle, but she will fight with the best of them when you try and take away one of her toys. And I like to think of my role leading the marketing organization in the same way, which is I want to be warm and empathetic and cuddly and supportive as a colleague, but I've got to always have my team's back and have no qualms about pushing back and protecting my team. The challenge with marketing in any company, but particularly with earlier stage companies, is that everyone believes that they're a marketer. And so instead of coming to us with problems, I have this challenge in the market that I'm trying to address, or my customers aren't understanding our value proposition, they lead with solutions. Build me a video, produce this piece of collateral. I want you to sponsor this event. And so it's very easy for marketing to fall back and become a reactive function, supporting the business, responding to requests from sales or customer success or HR, without really focusing on the strategic objectives that drive the company forward. And unfortunately, that's the surest recipe for failure, because when that happens, as the leader, you will be responsible. And so if you are going to be held accountable ultimately for the success of the function and its ability to grow the business, you may as well ensure you've had the opportunity to execute your vision and your plan. Now, just as important, and this is especially true when you're just starting to build a function, creating that well-oiled marketing machine takes time, and it requires experimentation. And those experiments, some of them are going to fail. That's okay. Not every one of these experiments is meant to succeed. You're going to learn even more from the failures sometimes than you do from the successes. And as a leader, you're going to need to protect your team and incubate them until they gain confidence and demonstrate success. Okay. We're getting to number 2 now, which is finding your superpower. So being a CMO today is incredibly challenging. Some of you may have seen these reports that the shelf life of a CMO is one of the shortest on the executive team, only a couple of years. And the reason it's become so much more challenging is that the mandate has become broader and broader. There's messaging and positioning, and PR and communications, and content marketing, and brand and creative, demand generation, reporting and analytics, conversion rate optimization. You need to go from right brain to left brain and back and forth in the span of a moment. And no one person can be the authority in every one of those areas. And so the play here is really that the best leaders don't surround themselves with yes people. They bring together a team who is better and smarter than they are, particularly in those areas that they know they're weakest in. So know your superpower, be honest about your own weaknesses, and find those people who can help fill in the gaps. This play becomes more and more important as your team and company scales, because while small startups are a little bit like basketball teams, you can have one superstar, a LeBron James or a Michael Jordan, who can lead a team to victory. By the time you get to growth stage companies, it's more like a soccer team. With so many players on the field, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so how do you win in this complicated environment? And that brings me to my final play, which is obsess over talent. So what do I mean by obsess over talent? So the 5 incredible people that I've chosen to picture on this slide are the members of my marketing leadership team at Top Hat. And I'll tell you that none of them came into the business through our recruiting team. I recruited 2 of them directly myself, cold, and the rest came in through my network. Now, I spend a few hours every week on LinkedIn cataloging profiles I find interesting. I don't wait until I have an open role. Recruiting is like marketing. It takes months to build a great pipeline, and you should always have one. So how much time, ask yourself, are you spending every week looking out for talent? Be your own recruiter. Don't rely solely on the recruiting team. We collaborate very well with them. The recruiting team at Top Hat is amazing, but I'm not relying on them to help me obsess over the talent on my team. I'm reaching out to interesting candidates all the time, inviting them for virtual coffees. I'm not waiting for roles to open up. Build a pipeline so when one does come in, a role opens up, you can fill it. Have an imaginary future org chart that you're always thinking about all the time. What profiles you'll need next as your team continues to grow. So by putting these into effect, these plays, our team has been able to grow at Top Hat from 5 to 30. Our scope has expanded to include the entire customer life cycle. We've been able to help grow the company over 200%, and we've achieved a lot of attention, awards, and accolades. But we've achieved this, we've accomplished this with a very different playbook, a different approach to marketing than the one I employed at Ripple, Salesforce, and Vision Critical. And that's kind of what I'll leave you all with. The one constant with all my roles has been this willingness to turn that growth mindset inwards to the way that I optimize and manage my team. And if you found these plays valuable, I'd encourage you to do the same. You can download them at the link above, and feel free to reach out to me on Twitter and LinkedIn. And thanks so much for your time and attention today. Have a great day.